well, I was going to do the 3, 2, 1, but it's like, oh god, Google's fast today. Whoa! They're excited because GitHub's down. They're like, yeah. Actually, they're sunsetting Google Code because they're like, yeah, GitHub just did it. So, which I think is interesting. Anyway, here we are. It's a Thursday. It's the Agile Ventures weekly meeting, second in the new series. Woo! And yeah, we're just trying experimenting with a different format. We've got Thomas and Patrick and myself are here. I had created this shared Google documents, which let me get the screens moved around here and bring that up as it evolves in live. And last week when we had the meeting, it was on a Friday. We had just sort of a free-form chat. I did also create a document where we took some notes, and then afterwards shared that document in the video, and that actually led to some. We had quite a big chat that's been going on in the website one. There it is here, and Tony Butler has been very articulate and verbose, and in a good way. And Patrick's also jumped in on the discussion, which is fantastic. Yeah, so that's, I think, I would say, at least on that level, last week's meeting a success. What I'm thinking is that, rather than being the same every week, that we should just sort of experiment with different formats for these meetings. One thing that we've done a lot at Makers Academy are retrospectives, and this a format that's sort of emerged is this idea of struggles, successes, and suggestions as a kind of way of collecting together positives and negatives that have been happening, as well as suggestions about what to do. And one of the things is, as I've been running some online classes for Makers Academy, and what I've found is a good way of potentially making things happen, but using the valuable kind of together time as effectively as possible, is distributing that the shared document in advance, and allowing people to sort of get that all out there, and then using that as the basis for the retrospective. Often the retrospectives, the face-to-face ones at Makers Academy, you spend the first 10 minutes with people writing things on the whiteboard, and yeah. Anyway, so of course in this case we haven't necessarily all had time to do that. So you just as easily one can start popping those things in at the beginning of the meeting as we're doing now. So I'll let you guys carry on with that, and I'll just I'll maybe there's some other people active in some other channels, and I might just ping people to have them add things there. And your thoughts on AV? Sure.
Yeah, ask them to join in. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll just say we have weekly meeting ongoing now. Feel free to join that too. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, and the the way that I don't know, actually, Thomas. I mean, you when you were at Makers, you participated in some retrospectives, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes. So you're familiar with the format. Patrick, I don't know, is the idea of a retrospective or a particular formats something that you're familiar with already, or?
No, not really, but it makes sense. I get the outline here, so
yeah.
I see what you're trying to get at.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. Yeah, sorry to disrupt you there. More for the recording. I mean, I guess the idea with the retrospective as it fits into the kind of what we might call a sprint or what have you, is there's this idea that one has a sort of a kickoff at the beginning. And of course, I'm not assuming that you don't know. I mean, you probably already know all this, Patrick. I'm saying it more for the benefit of the recording. But the idea is that one has a time period, whether it's a week or 2 weeks, and one kicks off at some point and says, okay, this is what we need to achieve at the moment, and you work out, okay, of the many things we'd like to achieve, in the next sprint, next chunk of time, these are the ones we're going to focus on, and sort of try and assign people to those, and then you do your work for a week or 2 weeks, and then it's time for a retrospective and to look back at, okay, how did that go? What went well? What went badly? How can we do better on the next cycle? And so we haven't really had the kind of equivalent kickoff for this. I mean, obviously, Agile Ventures has been going for some time. But yes, I just thought, let's do this format. I guess what I'm hoping to do is particularly with the sort of the two projects that I'm going to be most involved in, which is local support, and I think I'm going to get myself just much more involved in Website One and Agile Ventures because they sort of overlap. Is be running much more coherent sprints from Monday to Friday for local support and from Wednesday to Wednesday, Website One and Agile Ventures, and so. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, this meeting in future may be something completely different. Sorry, was somebody going to say something?
I have a point that I would like to add to the agenda, if it's possible.
Sure.
I know that Patrick is involved in the MetPlus project, and that's a relatively new project. I don't think it's been going on for more than like 2 or 3 months, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, about right. Yep.
So I would like to hear your perspective on what. Because that's an Agile Ventures project, right? And Joe, or he brought it. You remember Sam, we were involved in the beginning.
Yes.
But I would like to hear Patrick's opinion on what has been working out, or what has been a struggle, or if you could give us some feedback from there, and that perhaps there could be some lessons drawn from your experience.
Yeah, we can do that. Sure.
And I guess we could even bring that into it, Thomas. By that's sort of a suggestion is hear more from the MetPlus people. We did have Vijaya, who was in the meeting last week, who's also involved in the MetPlus project, and she had said she'd be happy to give a short presentation or just inform about MetPlus at some point. She's not here today. Obviously, we changed the meeting time on her, and so on.
But apart from the scope of the project, I understand that because
I understand that you're not. Yeah, I'm just sort of mentioning that as a related thing. I'm also exactly the thing you're asking for, which is Patrick's feeling about how it's going generally and how the Agile Ventures framework is supporting that, and things that we could be changing for the Agile Ventures to better support them, and so on. Absolutely. And we could carve out some special time for that. We can certainly make that the focus of the meeting in the absence of anything else. I wonder if maybe what we'll do is we'll work through the the struggles, successes, and suggestions, and perhaps come to that through the natural process of the meeting. Does that sound reasonable?
Sounds great to me.
Yeah, good start.
Yeah, that should do it.
All right. Yeah. Well, here we are. I guess, yeah. And so then the retrospective format is to sort of, one doesn't have to spend, an extraordinarily large amount of time on each section. What also tends to happen as well, which we might just quickly do now to help us manage our time, is that having got these items kind of up on the board, is that what you can do is people can go through and add kind of like a little +1 note on things that they kind of agree, or that's exciting, and then you end up with kind of like a little, quick ranking of how, important or how, shared they are in sort of certain topics. So we might just quickly do that, although there's hardly enough time for us. Or is it, Patrick? Is that your 4 there? I'll indent those, so that's.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. That was pretty ugly, wasn't
it? Otherwise, it looks like Patrick is a struggle, and I'm sure that's not.
There may be some truth to that.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So I mean, I might, in my ongoing warbling, continually talking sort of thing, I guess I'll just go through the struggle. I mean, the first one is a sort of a trivial one for me here about this is, and what we also do is we should have like action items there at the end. There's a clear action item here for me, which is that I should file a ticket on this minor issue for the site. So I'll just pop that in there. That's kind of a trivial thing that we could move over very quickly. Okay, yes, and then we've got, so find enough time for AV projects. That was your comment there, Thomas, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I did it /Thomas there, sorry. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, no, well, you can see how it's all evolving in real time. It's very exciting.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, I think we absolutely sympathize. I think we'd all like to find more time for AV projects. Yeah, I is there anything that we can do to help you in that regard, Thomas? I guess.
Yes, you can do my job for me, basically.
Okay. Well, I think we're talking about that separately. We'll see how much of it I can do, and then free up some time for you. Yes. Yes, I mean, I guess it's yeah. There's looking for that synergy between the things we're doing in the main and
Yeah, so it's all about finding balance between the pro bono or the charity projects,
yeah,
and professional life, so that's always a struggle. But I love the charity open source thing, but it's hard sometimes.
yeah. I concur, and it's even though I've now taken myself sort of 100% on Agile Ventures and I'm making that my main focus, I still have conflict between those parts of the system where there's more money coming through and those which are just like more fun or a sort of lead generation, and then there's a kind of it's sort of absolutely there's this sort of balance that one has to strike between looking back at the bottom line. I wonder, Patrick, you're involved in the Met Plus project. How are you finding the balancing the schedule with those kind of things?
Well, I have more time than a lot of people because I'm between jobs now.
Oh, okay.
So even with that, though, I have other things going on, obviously.
Sure.
I also have to attend to basic life. But, in terms of time, you can see the thread in my struggles. I mentioned time twice here. So I think we all have the same thing, different dimensions of it, but it's tough. So one of my struggles is I want to both develop and push forward the software code base for the project. At the end of every 2 weeks, we want to show additional software to the client.
Right.
On the other hand, we're desperately in need of some design, site map, mock-up, whatever, maybe some software architecture, because Met Plus is actually a pretty complex project, significantly when it's built. There's a lot going on there, and I think the mindset for so many people is I just want to show up for my 2 hours I can give to it a week and just code. And that's okay, but we're kind of going into a dark tunnel and our headlights are off and we don't know where we're going. And that's really frustrating because we need to scope it out a little bit before we develop software into that niche area. So there's that.
Interesting.
I also feel we need to have better documentation to show to potential new members. Because I've seen people come, they've joined Met Plus on the AV site, they've joined Met Plus channel, and then they drop off or they don't do anything. I think to some degree it's daunting to look at the AV site and they start reading the system description. They start looking at some of our system requirements documents, some of the system behavior stuff. It's fairly complex. It's domain knowledge and sophisticated system behavior there. We need some more approachable introductory stuff that we could use for people to ease them into it. And then consistent with what I wrote on this morning on that GitHub blog was we need to have some project tasks we can give to these people that are not so daunting and big. They have to learn, spend 3 hours reading the documentation, and we're not doing a good job at that because it's all it's all shorthand, and we all know what we mean, but new people would just be floundering.
Right.
And lastly, I think Hugh is doing a good job when he can, but I know he's got a new job.
Yeah.
I think we did a scrub planning session once so far in the whole 2 or 3 months. We just are struggling to really attend to that aspect, and we've never done a retrospective either.
You're saying so Joao is the project manager. And
he is.
But is overloaded with but is busy with new job. So have
from what I can tell.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. And no. And of course, that's. The nature of the system we have, people's availability goes up and down, and then I think we all love what Joao's done, but it's a valid thing. So you've missed out on some aspects of planning / retrospectives that might be useful for you guys.
Absolutely. I mean, we've been developing stories that don't even have points assigned to them because we've only voted on points I think once or twice in the entire project. As an example. Not to slam on Hugh, he's doing everything he can.
No, absolutely, sure.
It's just a struggle for the team.
Yeah, well, and I think that there's an interesting thing here in as much as it's been great to see how much activity there's been on the Met Plus project. What I've been aware of is, how on some of these things, as Agile Ventures, at least particularly for me in the time zone that I'm in, it's, and what were my commitments over the last few months, it's been /Agile Ventures who haven't been able to deliver very much support on that side. It would certainly be interesting to see now going forward how we could structure things so that there was more support in that regard, because it's kind of, I think at the end, one of the key things that ultimately Agile Ventures should be able to provide is, rather than having lots of projects in their own silos struggling with these same issues, but is sort of support about how to structure things and allow people to get these. It's the Agile thing, the Agile in Ventures, right? Is that's our thing that we do, and that thing that and it's great people just to have, it's great that we're a brokering site for people to get together and practice doing projects, but then it would be nice to be able to offer a little more. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. That's excellent.
Yeah, I think institutional support, or just a project management handbook. This is what you have to do every week, every two, whatever, or as best you can.
Yeah.
There's really nothing documented other than go look at some Scrum management textbook or something.
Yes, and what we've perhaps naively in the past done is tried to rely upon people just kind of coming in and overlapping on different hangouts and kickoff meetings and so on. But of course, everybody's time's limited, and they can't just get in on those things. So yes, absolutely. Yeah. Shall we go into the others? I mean, it sounds like you're touching on some of the struggles there. Is there, Patrick, anything else? I mean, you've mentioned some of these things. Yeah. Is there anything else in here? Yeah. I guess actually, so you've covered pretty much the other items that you had in the struggles thing there.
I think so. I think the existing team struggles are noted there, and also by extension, the team member recruitment struggles.
Yes.
That's all embedded in those comments there.
Indeed.
Yep.
And they sound very familiar. I think you probably maybe you would agree, Thomas. We've had exactly the same sorts of issues with local support and Website One, and it's
exactly
sort of, yeah.
I just wrote as a suggestion down below that we propose to all our project leaders or managers or whatever terminology we're using to have a backup. It's like you remember back in the good old days when Website One was running full steam ahead, we had me and we had Brian, right? Yes. So if I couldn't make it, I know that Brian had a lot of time on his hands, and that's really important. I think that Raul should have somebody to rely on to help with that, and also as Patrick says in the MedPlus project. And I think I had a brief conversation with Zhao just a few days ago, and he kind of asked me for could you come in and help us on that project, and and I was like, I just started a new one, so you could have asked me like 2 weeks ago, and then that could put things into different perspective, basically.
Yes.
But you know what I mean? It's like I think he senses that he's not enough to lead that project, so I think that it's always good to strive for having a backup, always have a second in command kind of thing, even though we're a democracy and everything, but somebody needs to take a lead on stuff. And I think we've seen a similar thing happening in Austria. When Tyson left for so there's a big danger in that, because there's so much potential in those projects, and these projects shouldn't be dependent on one person running them, but spread that to a larger group would be nice. Which is nothing mandatory, but we could suggest that, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and I think there's almost, I was writing some notes here, if we could encourage, the same way we encourage pairing on the coding, we should encourage pairing on the project management. So
exactly. I mean, we had this idea a while back, or like a year ago or something, to have like a project lead meeting kind of thing. You know, of course, it also contradicts the idea of everybody being equal in Agile Ventures, of course, but because we should be, but kind of to support like people like Zhao, like Raul. What can we do? Tips and tricks on how to manage those tasks, because even if it's voluntarily and it's open source and everything, I think that it's I mean, so people are here to learn how to to sharpen their coding skills, but some other people are here, and I've gained personally a lot from that, to be here to practice my project management skills or interpersonal skills, etc. And God knows I needed that, but you
and me both, brother.
No, but you know what I mean. So I think that we should try to support those soft skills better, if possible.
Yeah. Oh, and hey, Raul, how's it going?
Yeah, talking about the devil, right? We just spoke about you. You have to check the recording later on.
Speaking of a good project,
It's all good. It's all devilishly good.
Don't tell him that. Just leave him hanging,
Well, that's these
I was actually
interpersonal.
watching the recording on my way home now. So,
Right, Thomas. That's what I was going to say. That's those interpersonal skills we've been working about.
Exactly. Oh yeah.
still got some work to do.
I know.
As we all do. And I think I would just say that Thomas, like, I think to me, absolutely, +1 all of that. And I think also, I don't think for me personally, it doesn't seem like having extra support for project team leads it undermines the open nature of the whole thing. I think people in projects, some people want to focus on the coding, some people want to focus more on the projects.
Absolutely.
It's all good. Yeah. So excellent. I mean, the other thing I was putting in there is it makes me particularly think of like having videos on how to structure a project. I mean, I've learned a lot about, or certainly learned some new tricks about project management as a result of my working with this intensive boot camp in London for the last year and a half. And my plan right now is to launch into running local support and hopefully pairing with Raul on running website one, using those techniques and kind of to a certain extent step by example with these kickoff meetings and the retrospective meetings and so on and so forth. So I'm definitely going to do that. I mean, the interesting thing then is if we can have, curated videos of that, and then also maybe special extra meetings. Like we could well have, like this meeting could in future have 1 week we could have a focus on, how do you run a project and how to start it. I think that will be great stuff.
That'd be great.
I guess we're kind of in mid-flow here, Raul. There's this document that we're kind of like editing. Feel free to add things to that. I've probably only got like another 15 minutes, so I'm maybe just going to carry on through the successes and get to suggestions. And but then you guys, of course, even if I go, doesn't mean the party has to stop. You guys can carry on chatting. But and unless you had anything particular to add on the struggles side, Raul, of recent experiences with Agile Ventures, perhaps we'll move on to successes.
So my main struggle was already mentioned earlier on, is the time management.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Juggling between your life job and
sure.
Agile Venture. Yeah. That's my main trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wonder if maybe we add to the suggestion. Is it partly the video meetings? Would text stand-ups and text-based meetings help that? I'm not sure.
So let me comment on that. I would say both no and yes to that. I say that I benefit a lot from talking to you guys like this, even though it's time consuming and it's perhaps not the best use of time, But I think that there are so many other upsides that I would like. I would hate to lose that kind of.
Yeah.
So for me, it's either like I don't have a time at all, and text scrums don't do me any good anyway, or when I have time, I prefer to meet up like this. That's my take on that.
Yeah, and I certainly wouldn't remove the video things. Go on, Raul.
Another downside to maybe text scrum is that if you're focusing on something at the moment, then you have to jump into a meeting. It could be, you could lose focus just by jumping in between stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Lose focus. Texting in
to your people.
Yeah. No, and yeah. So we'll come to that. We can come back to those suggestions. Going into successes, then. We've had a couple of things I changed. Experimented with this week was like having stand-ups with feedback, which seemed to go quite well, and starting the stand-ups early in order to have like a bit of free-flowing chat before we go on the recording. I've got a +1 on both of those. I kind of plan to continue doing that unless anybody tells me to stop. Any thoughts on either of those? Calling them innovations. Let's call them facial tics. Or no, what are they called? Yeah, but unless anybody feels strongly about either of those, we'll move on to.
I love the feedback session we had today, so I'm very happy. I think it's a great idea.
Likewise, nice one. Cool. So Thomas is talking about the success of getting a new project started, which is great. Yeah.
Kind of started. It's a little premature. We have this inception meeting tomorrow. So.
Yeah, but I think that's we all say yay. That's all great. And Patrick, so making steady progress on Met Plus, and very happy with decisions to use Devise and Bootstrap. And
well,
yeah, go on.
Sorry, just rather prosaic observation, but if you read the Devise README page on GitHub, it'll advise you if you're new to Rails, don't use Devise because it's fairly complex.
Right.
And I am so happy that we actually, in spite of that, chose to use Devise. It's awesome, and Bootstrap, of course, you guys know, is awesome too. So
yes, I think it's
shout out to those two things.
Wonderful. Yes, and Thomas is kind of like, more from the design side, is like Bootstrap. That's like, but it's clearly it's a great stepping stone, isn't it, Thomas?
Yes,
it is. It is.
Yes,
it is. I'm just kidding. I'm into foundation. Right?
Yeah. Well, and I hear people saying that really people shouldn't use Bootstrap Foundation. They should be building their own custom.
Yeah.
Thing.
So yeah, but let's not get too technical.
No, let's not go there. Raul, any successes for you this week?
Well, except for catching up on some of the stuff that I missed while I was on vacation. Nothing major.
Cool. Okay, so let's leap into the suggestions section. And
I have a suggestion. Let's not go on vacation to places where there are bad internet connections. That should be a general.
I think maybe sometimes in order to have a vacation, you have to go to somewhere with a bad internet connection.
Actually, it was a good thing for me because I got time to not touch on my computer at all.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have been working the whole time.
I think that's a very good thing to go. I think the key thing, of course, is it's about managing the expectations for other people about how much connectivity you're going to have. Definitely on a vacation, no internet connectivity is a good thing. Going on to so we've got this great discussion there. Did you link this comment, Patrick? Were you linking to that particular section for me, or just you were trying to link to your own comments? There.
No, just to the page.
Just the page. Okay, yes. Yeah, happened to be that bit.
Pages,
yeah. Right? Yes. And so you have the specific suggestion after Tony Butler and I were busy chatting of can we move forward to have like a little bit of a sort of a planning document kind of style thing with bullet points about what we're going to achieve, and you gave an example here of something that might look like, and that's a very interesting idea. Did you want to say anything else about that?
No, other than I think it's good to do a deep dive in some of the details, which Tony and you were doing to some degree, because it kind of validates some of the ideas that are worth exploring. However, if you continue on that without ratcheting up about 30,000 feet and putting together the bigger context, I think it's a problem. So, all of a sudden we're talking about where to find the search button on the Agile Ventures site, et cetera. We're way down into weeds at that point.
Right.
Time to ratchet up and take a look. Put the bigger picture together.
Well, I didn't understand that last thing. What do you?
There was a discussion. Sorry, go ahead.
No. But what about the search button? Are we down on this details?
Well, maybe I can probably fill in there for you, Thomas. Is that so? This and possibly summarize here. So that this discussion started with Tony Butler with his thoughts based after seeing the meeting last week. And one of the things that he was talking about in particular was problems navigating the site and the ability to find projects that he was interested in or that were active and so on and so forth. And one of the things that I responded to him, although we kind of had this trading essays thing. One of the things I pointed out was, absolutely that the UI is not as good as it could be and it's difficult, but there is a search button and that you could in principle search like this. And he was like, so even though we do have the search, he hadn't been able to find it or he hadn't noticed it, and I think that's kind of interesting. But as Patrick rightly points out, in the terms of what's the overall objective, what are the high level goals of Agile Ventures and how we're going to achieve them, then the kind of the search button and whether you're going to should we have tags for the projects or should we move the position of the search thing is and in Patrick's words kind of down in the weeds, and I think he's making the excellent suggestion of trying to bring us back up a level.
Yeah. So now I understand. I totally agree with you, Patrick. I think that one very basic thing that we need to assess, and we have discussed this on numerous occasions, is what are the benefits for people to come in, like developers, what can they gain when they are beginners, when they are intermediate, developers? Should they stick around Agile Ventures? Can they pick up any values, by working on those open source projects, which I believe they can. But also for people like who are interested in project management and stuff, we should kind of focus on the benefits that Agile Ventures can deliver to people, to its members, and also again the same thing for charities or other stakeholders. That is very crucial. I think that a lot of the problems that we are facing, with people not coming in or dropping out and the activity level, dropping, is it's because of the fact that we have. I sense, at least that's my opinion, that we have like a lack of vision for whoever is using this community and what they are using it for.
Yeah, I would say that we're talking. Sam, you started a discussion, great discussion on how do we scale up, take Agile Ventures to the next level, etc. But if you actually look at what's going on right now, as Thomas just pointed out, we're struggling to staff existing projects as it is. And we don't have that many existing projects, so we kind of need to. Those are my examples here that kind of focus on that. There are clearly more strategic things that have to be thrown into this overview, but we've got issues now that we need to think about.
Absolutely. Yeah,
it's an interesting point. Yeah, so before we scale up, we have to stay on this level. We have to kind of clean, make this a better model, basically, or a better place before we can actually move up. And there is Patrick, there is a lot of projects, but they are not being active because we couldn't, as you pointed out, we couldn't staff them, or the project leads are dropping out and things like that, right? If you look at the project list, it's quite extensive, but there's not much happening in quite many of these projects, unfortunately.
And given the nature of the staffing, which are all part-timers and volunteers, that's going to be a fact of life forever. I do know, however, that I think people have come and kicked the tires, as I mentioned on MetPlus, and turned away because there's way too much here. There's no introductory tasks I can take and start treated. So
yeah,
we can do better.
Indeed. I think all excellent points, and I concur. Yeah, and I think, and in some way, I use them as evidence to bolster. I think the gist of what I was saying to Tony, which is that, and he was sort of saying, maybe we should be going out and we should be approaching more charities and bringing more people in. I think we need to kind of get our own ship in order before we're going out and attracting lots more projects. There's more than enough work to be done, and I think this issue of the kind of the user experience of the site and of the whole community, of people coming in and being able to get in and on board and wanting to stick around, that's kind of the key. And I guess it's I think it would be nice to develop this further here. What I'd sort of been pushing Tony towards is, let's break the thing into the individual stories in Pivotal Tracker and go there. What I have just done at the very high level in terms of having a vision is, is actually create a charity and get ourselves on a legal footing in the UK as regards the Agile Ventures, which I think is an important step. And I've created this document which is based on a template from in the UK. The key bit where we get to express ourselves is a short paragraph about our objects. And so whatever else you think about the rest of the document, and there are things about related to membership and trustees and so on, which are kind of important maybe for the UK organization. But it's this, and I just trotted this off today as the kind of the high level objectives of the charity, which is to provide software project management services to third sector. This is, the third sector as this time of is being used in the rest of the world, but in the UK to mean charities and non-profits, and then also to provide the opportunity for members all over the world to develop their software development skills. I mean, I guess it's software development and project management.
And project management.
Yeah. In teams, contributing to the projects for the third sector. So I mean, I think what would be great is if we could come to an agreement, at least amongst some of us, about a high-level paragraph that stated the very, very top-level aims of the organization, and that would, kind of serve we could do then, if we can agree that very top level, then we can maybe build some things like this underneath it and use that to drive forward how we execute over the coming weeks and months, if that makes any sense.
That makes total sense to me, and I think that paragraph, which is rather short, I think it kind of captures the essence of what we're doing, and I think it's a good language in there. There's always a risk, especially for people like me and you, sometimes that we can elaborate, that into eternity probably. But I think what you said there. Once you added project management, it made completely sense to me, and I think that's really good, because then if we can map everything we do toward that high level goal, that could mean that we are getting our ship in order, basically. Apart from the third party sector, the third sector could be hard for people to understand, so that could
absolutely, which is why I've added this. I mean, I think this is like a lot of, in the UK, this is now starting to be well understood, and a lot of other charities use this terminology in their things. Anyway, but yeah, that's something that we can definitely
has its lingo for things like that. But since we're international, so that
absolutely.
could mean some clarification. Perhaps,
we can iterate on that. So we've got some other things in the suggestions. We've got hear more from the Met Plus people, which is we would absolutely love to do. Whether that's on the scope of the project, I'd love to hear some presentations and showing bits of code and bits of interface and so on. I know Thomas expressed at the beginning of this meeting just to hear more from Patrick. We've heard some. I'm sure we could hook up more. I guess I will, because I've probably got to go now. That I may just leave you. I'm just going to skate over the suggestions and then maybe leave you guys to come back to that. We've generated quite a few of these as a result of the discussion, and we've kind of touched on them already. I can't. Actually, I think we've kind of covered things at the high level. We've generated a couple of action items there. A very interesting set of needs there for the Met Plus projects. I guess what I'm going to do is maybe I'm going to perhaps step out now and leave you guys to carry on, keeping on thinking about suggestions. You guys can all edit this document, right, and add. What I would say is the key thing to do is have a great time and have chat. But if there's anything you think of that's like, oh yeah, I could do that, let's add that to the action items. And then I think one of the key things, and this is for the project management and having the retros and the kickoff, is that what we'll do is we'll bring up these action items at the the next kickoff meeting. And I've set a kickoff meeting next Wednesday for Website 1, which is sort of Website 1/Agile Ventures. So yeah, do add things here, and I'll make sure that these things, whatever's in the action items there, get brought up at the beginning of that meeting. And I think that's going forward, week 2 week, going on, that connection between the kickoff and the retro is critical, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right. Well, I will duck out, guys. You just carry on having fun, and I'll catch you up a bit later.
You can stop the recording because we'll be dropping off. So the recording doesn't have to run, I guess.
No, I'll leave it running if you don't mind. I'm going to be knocking around and getting ready to take my kids to karate, and I'll come and turn it off in like 10 minutes or whatever. So yeah, just
fine.
That's good, guys. Great that was fun. I'm going to look forward to seeing you again real soon. Okay, bye for now.
Thanks.
Take it easy.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah. So Patrick, I'm curious. Apart from the technical things, which I understand that you probably have a lot of discussions, and I already understand that you have people coming in and sniffing around the project and then dropping out. But in terms of the day-to-day, you say that you don't have enough time. You feel that your time is not enough. But what has been positive about the MetPlus project, if I may ask?
Oh, positive has been we've got some core team members.
And how many members are that?
Let's see. There are 5 of us, including Hugh, of course. And we've been consistent on this. Time allocation from individuals goes up or down on a particular week, of course.
Yep.
So that's worked out well. I would say 3 of the people are very junior with respect to Rails. I'm still somewhat junior, but a little bit more advanced. Okay. And of course, Hugh, a very experienced software engineer. I get the impression he's more experienced on Java.
Java and stuff, yeah, I know.
Mongo things rather than Rails, but he does fine in that arena as well. So that's worked out. So we've been able to sustain the team and keep moving forward. The parts that haven't worked out, we talked about when with Sam, and I think he's captured it on his retrospective document. Which again, it sounds like pretty generic to you name the project. Everybody's got pretty much the same problem.
Yeah, yeah. But so
But
so
I do
if I
think I'm sorry, but I do think your idea of having a designated understudy for project management and Scrum management makes a great deal of sense.
Thanks.
Make it more of a formal, semi-formal position. In fact,
Yeah,
that would
yeah.
help.
That's what we had that on website one, and that was not always a positive thing. But I always sense that at times in website one we had 20 developers working.
Wow.
We were really going full steam ahead, and there were a lot of strong personalities, a lot of different wheels, and of course we not always pulled in the same direction. And but basically, what a project needs, I think I'm convinced that what a project needs is a team, like you say, core team of people, or and among that team you should have somebody that takes the lead, and then a vice sergeant, lieutenant, because let's say that people are not in agreement about something, like choice of a certain technology, or whether we should implement something or not, and you're kind of deadlocked. Then I strongly believe that there should be somebody that can just say, okay, I've listened to everybody, but this is my opinion and this is what we're going to do right now. And you cannot always reach consensus, even though it's of course desirable, but you just cannot do that. And that's one thing. The other thing is that that a lot of these people that have strong wills, and they pull in different directions and stuff, they, after a while, they drop out because life changes for everybody, right? Raul goes on vacation, and I have a new kid, for instance, and I cannot devote that much time to certain projects, right? And so you have to ensure that there is a continuity, and it's not only about one meeting or one feature or 1 week at a time, or one sprint at a time. It's in a project you have to see it in a long run, right? I remember when we worked on the Take Me Away project, right? From the start we said that this is time box. This is like 1 month or 2 month sprints, and that's it, right? But a project like MedPlus or Website One or local support, and local support has been going on forever, and it's a project is never finished until we say it's finished, right? So to ensure that there are somebody there to have contact with the stakeholders, take responsibility. Sometimes, look, servers go down, right? And somebody has to go get up in the middle of the night and reboot something. And for me, it has been me and Brian when we worked on Website One, and not always the people that were shouting loudest at the Scrum meetings. You know what I mean? Because
right.
So we with powers comes great responsibility, right? Me and Brian was in charge of whose code gets to be merged in, or we had the final saying about certain features, but we were also the ones getting up in the middle of the night when AgileVentures.org went down. You know what I mean? So this is something. So if you feel that you can step up and become that person in MedPlus together with Zhao, that's wonderful, and that is this sort of commitment to the greater good. That personally, that's a star in my book. You know what I mean? It's like this is what we're looking for. But then we should also respect the people that come into Agile Ventures just to learn things, and they are not willing to take, to devote 10 hours a week or 5 hours a week, and they're not ready to take on bigger responsibility because they're here for a specific purpose, and that's also cool. So I think that Agile Ventures needs to be have a broad spectra of value propositions for a lot of different people, and that's the beauty of this community in the long run, I think.
Agree 100%. Absolutely. And I think your recognition of project management as a distinct and equal discipline to software development that's been missing, I think, in the Agile Venture story is really important. I think we've got to emphasize that much greater. going
Yeah.
forward.
So we had a small project. Let's see if I can find this. This is like a year and a half ago. I wrote some ideas down. Let's see, where is that? Yeah, the Agile Ventures community. I think. Let's see if this is still active. So I had some ideas where I tried to get this dialogue going about the values that we are delivering to different people, basically. Let's see here, Agile Path. Yeah, I think this is the one. Yeah. So I kind of played around with this. I had this developer path, like a project path, and the community path. I kind of split those into three different areas. Whereas a developer can be, here to just sharpen his developer skills, but he can also be here to be a community person, like making the community grow. And the same goes for the project person, right? He can be here just to assist in different projects and sharpen those skills, but he can also do that and be a community person. You know what I mean? So I kind of draw this diagram, right, where you can start with with like a newbie, you're an open source developer, and then you go to a senior open source developer kind of title, quote unquote, right? And then you kind of become a core member of this community, right? Where perhaps you should have you can represent the charity in like meetups, or you can give talks about what we're doing, stuff like that, basically, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
These were just ideas, and then I kind of put down some ideas about that, So perhaps this is something that we could, dust off and then see if there's anything here that could be used for developing the community, basically, or something.
I'll take a look at that. I mean, I don't want to expand the conversation beyond what we have now, but one of the things that we could really use on MetPlus is a good UI UX guy, or a good product owner who has UX skills. But that's asking for too much. But if our talent pool included those kind of folks, we could definitely use one of them on some of the more complex systems we're building here. But anyway, that's we've got enough.
That's always a problem, and so we are traditionally, getting new members from the CS169 class on edX, and we get some people from Makers Academy and now my company, but we don't deal with too much design and UX issues, basically. Well, UX, of course, yes, but not we're not creating experts on that. So we would need to speak to some people from here in Sweden. We have a large education institution called Hyper Island, and they do a lot of design classes and courses and projects and stuff like that. So we should bring people with that expertise on board. So that would be one way to solve that problem, because I think every project struggles with that.
Yeah, even simple ones. You're right.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a second phase problem, though. That's something we're trying to solve right away.
But that kind of touches upon the thing that people are coming in and they say, are you guys all about Rails, for instance? Which we're not, because I do nowadays. I do more in Sinatra than I do in Rails personally. But I am mostly about rack-based, Ruby projects, right? But perhaps people. I mean. What was interesting with the Take Me Away project was that we actually built a client in Angular, right? Which was, I think, the first small project in Agile Ventures that didn't use anything, rack-based or Ruby-based, basically. Otherwise, it's all been about Ruby. And I would love to see more projects doing other stacks and being more focused on the single app application frameworks, the JavaScript frameworks. I think that's cool. So perhaps we should, this is something that we definitely need to talk to Sam about. We have to expand our recruitment base, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. So many problems to solve. But yeah,
but for that, I mean, first to solve these problems, we need to identify them, of course, but we also need to have dedicated people that are willing to devote time to this community. But having said that, what I mean is that we don't need all to devote hours and hours and hours every day, but we need a lot of people that can devote small portions of time and be able to work together and be synced, and in that way I think we can achieve something that is unique and is really good. But I mean, to think about it. I've been away from the community for in periods of time. I mean, I really admire Sam that he's been sticking around for as long as he has. But what if he all of a sudden needs to drop out? What would happen to Agile Ventures? And I fear that day actually, because then so we need more of Sam basically.
Yeah. Because if you look at the past few weeks since he came back, there's been a lot more activities than in the past few months.
Exactly.
It's good and not good.
But that's up to us. It's up to us. What can we do to motivate our peers, our friends in Agile Ventures to do more? But let's not do more, but do other things. Not only focus on code, but also to focus a little bit more on the community itself.
In architecture and design and things like that. I do find that people come out of the MOOC course and they want to join a project, and they don't want to design, they don't want to do anything. They want a homework assignment like they saw in the MOOC course. Yeah. Give me a small story that I can do, tell me what the RSpec tests have to do, and I'll do it, and I'll solve the story. And that comes with time, your ability to think beyond that and go up the scale, if you will, or up the
They're juniors, they're juniors, and that's what
junior.
We cannot ask them to take upon bigger responsibility than just a small story. So we need to attract new people, basically.
Yeah, we need to attract people who have those skills or can grow into those skills. Absolutely. While not turning away the junior people who really just need a small little bite-sized thing to work on, so they don't get intimidated.
Exactly.
It's a complex problem.
So we need to give Sam some action items, I guess. I think he just wrote those question marks that are wondering why aren't we? But
I thought he was supposed to be taking his kids to karate.
Exactly. Perhaps he's on this iPhone or something. No, but but this is not an action item; it's a discussion item. Well, perhaps it's an action item. What can we do to expand the membership base and also include other competences in project management, in system architecture, in UI design, and things like that. And could somebody that writes fluent English could write that down, perhaps? That would be good.
Yeah, I could add something about that.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Will do.
Any other thoughts, guys? So Patrick, I have another question. Have you noticed that, and no names are needed, of course, but do you have like a situation where people promise to do something or take upon a story and then you don't get it delivered, and that ends up being a blocker for somebody else?
We've had a few things like that where junior people would take maybe a story, and they'd also take 2 or 3 others. So they wanted a backlog.
Oh, okay.
And we had to go through. You can only do one at a time, really. Otherwise, somebody else could have taken that story while you're working on the one you're currently working. That kind of thing. So it's just a matter of experience and understanding how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, but I'm guilty as charged. I think Raul, I still have some outstanding stories on website 1, haven't I?
I think we pushed them to the backlog already.
Oh, really? Thanks for that.
He's giving up on you, is what he's saying.
I'll ask a couple of times and no response, so I push them back in the backlog.
Yeah. No, but that's the problem. I mean, it's one thing when the project is running on low gears, but when you're moving full steam ahead, you want stuff out of the way, basically, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So for the refugee tech project, I'm bringing on an external project manager actually. A guy from Sweden he works at the there's a so the refugee tech project has a project as a client. It's a non-profit, but they also have a corporate stakeholder, like a sponsor-ish kind of thing. So one of the guys at that company, it's called Pinia Group. He's going to be a project manager together with me, and the idea is that I just introduce him to that, work with them for a sprint or two, and then take a step back, and he can take that into the future, because he doesn't know the Agile Ventures way of working yet. So I want to be there together with him in the initial sprints. But first we're going to have a design sprint anyway. Just talking about the application without actually writing any code. But yeah. That's also, now that I think of it, this is something that I would recommend everybody and all new projects to have, like one sprint of just design talk, no coding, just so everybody's on board and understanding the domain. I think we did something like that in the Take Me Away project, but in retrospective, I could say that we perhaps moved too fast. I know that you were very pushing for that data model and stuff like that, Patrick. I think you did a great job with that. We could have, I could have taken a slower pace basically and devoted more time to that. But I think at least one sprint of just talking about the domain and doing designs, like architecture designs, is a good idea actually.
I think we did two. Yeah. I think we did a couple of sprints, didn't we, Raul? 2 or 3 sprints.
What we did is we had a full sprint on it, and over time, as we were moving with the project, we made a few changes.
Of course. Okay.
I think on MetPlus we did the same thing, Thomas. We focused on the ERD, the database design, and it focused everybody to think about the data structure and the functionality that has to be built around the data structure. It really helped everybody get up to speed pretty quickly. Of course, at this point, we need to extend the data model because we've built what we can with what we've got.
But did you work? Okay, so data model is one thing. I think it's essential to understand the domain kind of thing. And again, as Raul said, this is subject to change later on. Of course, I think we discussed this in the Take Me Away project as well. But I think it's very important to work with the user experience. Like I've always been working with lo-fis and user stories, but I see so much clearer now how important they are, as to have with it. So without people are often talking about wireframes and that's cool, but for me, I prefer to talk about lo-fis, like really pen and the paper and just sketch something really fast, because wireframes tend to require the pixel perfect approach. You know what I mean? While lo-fi is just a quick and dirty solution, because you can scrap that. Once you devote like 2 hours to create a wireframe, you're not so reluctant. You don't want to throw it away, right?
You're married at that point.
You're married to it, yeah, exactly. While a lo-fi that within 30 seconds could just be thrown out, basically.
And lo-fis can really enable. The key thing for some of these complex systems is workflow. What's the progression of the user for various screens, and what are the paths that happen, based upon conditional logic?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff we're not doing enough of.
Yeah. So I think user stories, lo-fis, and then acceptance tests in working, and that's why I love Cucumber. I know not everybody is a fan of that testing framework, but I love it personally, because it's like pure English. You can I do this, given this is happening, and I do that, and I should see this output.
Right.
I think it's marvelous.
I think everybody likes Cucumber. Not everybody likes regex though. So that's that's the deal breaker for some people, I think.
But Cucumber actually is very nice to you. It generates most of those step definitions for you anyway. So.
Oh, it does. Yep. Especially you use the training reels to get started, which they tell you not to do.
All All right, guys. I have a screaming 2-year-old downstairs. I hear. That's the background sound effects that you will be hearing from me. So I have to cut this short now. But great discussion. I think it's really good. If you can formalize some of the final thoughts in that document, Patrick, I'd love that.
I will. Yep, I'll update it.
Cool. Anything else at this point? Only one thing.
Not for me.
Live long and prosper, guys.
All right, you
Yes.
too, Thomas.
That's right. All
Hey,
right.
Raul,
Bye-bye.
how you doing? See you, Thomas.
Good, Patrick.
How's life?
Life is good. Maybe this is still recording.
Oh, we're still live. Oh.
Let's talk in Slack.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. Good seeing you. Take care, man.